Hello, this is Radius Zero. At least that is what I'm known by on my DeviantArt page, my Tumblr, and my Twitter account. First things first, excuse the sound quality, excuse my derpness in fact, because this is actually my first time recording myself. Well, scratch that. This is my 30th attempt at recording myself. In fact, this entire painting started out originally as a pencil sketch. And as I've been making more mistakes as I'm painting along, it's progressed this far, so you can have an idea of how long I've been trying to do this. Thanks to all the people at the conventions who purchased my work, I was finally able to purchase something that I can start recording myself, recording my process, and just giving commentary about my work. A lot of people ask me the same question is, what is your art? Is it digital or traditional? And to that I'll say it's actually both. It's a fusion between traditional and digital media, traditional being watercolor pencils, watercolors, penciling, and so forth. I usually use the watercolor pencils to begin with. I grew up doing pencil work a lot, and so this is just like the perfect marriage between watercoloring and penciling. The brand that I'm using is Faber-Castell? Anyways, this brand was a whole box of it was given to me by my sister as a Christmas gift. Ever since then, I've been using it, and I just really love it. I'm pretty a good ways within the first step of my art piece, because they all start out just like this. I'll be adding some colors pretty soon. I'm at that stage where I'm getting an idea of what's going to be darks and lights. If you've ever seen my work before or you're familiar with it, it's really colorful. In fact, some people call it Lisa Frank on acid. And I really love that. That description of it, because hey, I grew up with Lisa Frank. And speaking of growing up, the funny thing about me going down this road of watercolors is, as a kid, I absolutely hated it. Took me a long time to get accustomed to watercolors, and that has to do with a childhood trauma of mine. As a kid, I would follow along Bob Ross's tutorials on the PBS channel he used to have, and I'd be like, I'm gonna follow you along. I'm gonna create my own happy trees. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm gonna do it with mine. So I didn't understand the medium, the difference between oil paints versus watercolors. I figured they were all the same, so I just got the Crayola watercolor palette case, and there I am following along Bob Ross's, painting techniques, and I got very upset because I was like, my trees do not look happy. They look very derpy and very watercolory, blotchy. It didn't help that the paper I was painting on was like paper sheet, it's not even watercolor, so it was like rippling and crumpling and everything. I'm like, ugh, this looks so nasty. And so that was one of my very first exposures to watercolor, and so I didn't really like it at all. And when I grew, I think around high school time, I still didn't like it, because then it became an issue of, well, it's too out of control, I can't control it, blah blah blah, I don't like it. And again, I came up with a strong history of color penciling, so that was part of where that was coming from. I liked when you're color penciling, you get a lot of control over it. As I grew older, I started to appreciate watercolor a lot. I think one of my instructors gave me one of the best advice, which is, you want to get as much of the painting down to the basics. You don't want to get too lost in the details too early, because then you're going to invest so much of your energy on those little splotches and those little areas that, as you're working away around, almost like a little machine. I've seen some artists, they do have that process of just going step by step, little, and then it still comes out really badass. But for me, it's very important for me to fill that page with as much as I can. Not only does it make it visually less intimidating to work with, because there's nothing more terrifying than having this blank page and only this one spot, and you realize, oh gosh, I gotta fill up that entire spot right there, and then your energy's just wasted. But filling in that space, coloring in, and then just building and building, and that's like the key that I found that works for me, at least. I eventually enjoyed watercolor. I did like the unpredictable textures it gave me. I did like losing control too. There's certain times that no matter, even as I'm color penciling these little areas here, making things dark and all, there's always going to be something that might happen that I have no control over, and I kind of like that. I think for me, as a person, I've kind of learned in life that you have to, you know, take charge, but at the same time just roll with the punches too. And sometimes you'll get some really happy mistakes that just really enhance the image, and some of them are just really stupid mistakes that you just learn from and learn not to do again. And that's pretty much why I'm real excited when it comes to creating art, because it's never a definite destination. Every art piece will have its own challenges. Every art piece will have that opportunity to either excel at something or expose a weakness that you need to work on down the road. I'm so sorry. This is kind of like not really stable. In fact, I don't really paint like this, to be honest. Actually, I'm very, very, I guess, ghetto. I'm just like, draw it right there. I can't really afford the stands or anything. In fact, my tablet that I work digitally is like this really small little device, little workspace, which is why I like to work traditionally first, because then I can go really big. And well, 11 by 17 is my standard size, and some of that has to do with my scanner too being only 8.5 by 11. And so I have to piece this together. But you know, you make do with what you gotta do. You got the tools, whatever tool you have, you just gotta do with it. Some people will have the opportunity to work with the big ass screen and the big ass canvas, and for me it's like, you know, I'm gonna make it happen however way I can make it happen. So yeah, that's kind of the step process that I do. I start out just like this, I work my way around, I get my colors and an idea of contrast, because contrast is really key. Contrast is one of those things where I'm constantly pushing myself to work on. When you work with as much color as I do, it gets really easy to get lost in it, that you forget to focus on contrast, or you start making assumptions or derping mistakes where you assume, oh well, I'm using a lot of blues and purples, so it'll be dark enough, and I'll just use like colors like yellow and that'll make it light enough. And it doesn't work that way. It implies the amount of pressure you put, the amount of color that you put in areas means that when you convert that image to grayscale, those areas might just be as dark as the darker colors. So I've just kind of like focused on creating like a monochromatic piece first, because then I get that opportunity to focus on contrast and knowing what areas need to be dark and light, and then work from there. Then start adding my color in after I get to that stage. Let's see, what else was I gonna talk about? Oh yeah, Bizarro Sephiroth. If you've followed my pieces before, you'll notice I do a lot of fan art. I like to do fan art with my own spin. A few years ago, I did Bizarro Sephiroth. And that was really fun to do, partly because not too much Bizarro Sephiroth fan art was out there. Many people were just doing more of the human edition of Sephiroth. And I can understand that. I mean, he's a beautiful man. That's why I love him so much. Really gorgeous and very terrifying. I kind of wanted to do the Bizarro Sephiroth version because, you know, many people are so focused on the beauty aspects of him that they don't realize, yeah, you can transform into some really weird things too. And Bizarro Sephiroth is one of those even rarer fan art pieces that you won't find too much of. For me, I really wanted to do something a little bit different with the Bizarro Sephiroth because I am really fascinated with that elegance and beauty mixed with really disturbing visuals and body horror and stuff like that. It's a little different. It makes you feel like, well, I want to look at it. He's really cool, but I would not want to meet him at the an alleyway. And I think that's the reaction I kind of want, especially for a character like Sephiroth, because it's, you know, as awesome as he is, and many people like his looks and everything, he's also very dangerous too. And that's just something I kind of wanted to incorporate into the new my version of him. I really wanted to make him stand out as this beautiful creature, but also terrifying. So there's gonna be a lot of cool things I want to amplify, like these little dark veins and nasty. I'm a huge horror fan, by the way. So I really love those little grotesques. Like The Thing, for instance, really big fan of that. John Carpenter's The Thing. I've always thought of Genova as that anyways. I'm still building up my contrast. I know I need to make this part a little bit darker and so forth. I have to let things dry and then start building up. I'm going to be applying color pretty soon, different other colors. I usually, at this point, now that I got the basic understanding of this, and I need to go back in there again, then I start going into the color palettes like these. Kind of want to do some purples and blues and some greens too, especially since I do want to make these eyes of his like really pop out, make it really green and lime green. Like, oh, it looks so terrifying, but looks so cool. Hopefully I go forward with this. I will record this again so you guys can see the next step of that. I'm gonna give this time to dry out, okay? All right.